So we spent a long time trying to understand what the right tool was for us to use in this space. We spent a lot of time talking to a lot of vendors about what should we do. We really got to a point where there were a number of tools in the market that could do a lot of technologies. They could offer you a static analysis view across a lot of technologies, but they couldn't give you a really deep, focused view on core technologies. So our experience with Coverity compared against other products that were more jack of all trades, if you like, was Coverity outstripped them, every single time in the languages that it works in significantly. So that's why, we could have adopted a one size fits all big platform that would cover everything, but our choice was to make sure we had the right platform for the right technologies, and that for us, for Java and C code, was definitely Coverity. So following that, we did a trial and we had some fantastic results. That we worked with a guy called Alan Perkins in Coverity, who's got a big spreadsheet around ROI calculation that you can get back out of Coverity. That when you put numbers into it, it shows you some scary numbers on what your return on investment would be, and they're kind of so scary you don't want to show them to a finance person because they don't look real. And then you start running a pilot against some of this stuff, and the reality is, you tune it and you try and make it a bit more applicable to your organisation, but there is still fantastic return on investment available from using it. So like I was saying previously, where we're trying to use Coverity in the kind of core of our strategy is hooking it into Jenkins as our continuous integration server, and that for us is the point that's really making the difference. Daily, every day, we can see where we are. The results so far from having done that, having tried to move this gap so that we're closing the gap between defect being injected and finding it, is that we've had some fantastic results. So using Coverity, we've got to a point where we're analysing about 1.4 million lines of code of a potential 15 million lines that we're kind of growing and moving our way through adoption on. We've found over 2,000 issues. We've applied 1,800 fixes to each of those. We found those at a point in the process where they were significantly cheaper to fix than if we found them in later stages of the test cycle or even production. I think the average defect density dropping quite as significantly as did in our code base is a really significant factor. In the areas of our systems estate where we've used this, we've also seen a significant reduction in the production issues that we've had as a result. So one of the things that Coverity is fantastic at is finding the really low-level, scary, performance-related issues that you just can't see as a developer. Well, you might see them and think, no, I don't need to worry about that, that's not that significant. But those small things put together, built up in a production environment, can cause a real problem. So there's a kind of iceberg effect that's sitting there that developers can't see that Coverity can help you tackle before you have issues from it hitting production. So one of the key things that we've been trying to do with it is work with this the Coverity dashboard, trying to move forwards to build some management reporting off the back of that, show where we are to management in the development phase rather than just leaving that tied to the back. I think that's part of where we're trying to move forwards is how we integrate other analysis tooling on platforms into Coverity as the kind of master view on our quality and our development space. So one of the things that we've been looking at is integrating where we've been trying to buy similar tools in different technologies. So in the mainframe space, in the Oracle space, for example, plugging all of that data in to use Coverity as that one dashboard for quality within that development space. And I am handing over to you now. There you go.
So that covers a certain part of the life cycle, and the challenge from the test center or the QA function is how do we start having that conversation and how we bridge that gap. So the shift left theme, we've already touched on that several times, is really key. So we have the flow here, continuous integration. How do we get back into understanding and doing better testing all the way through? One of the challenges we have to break is the cultural perception that testers do testing. Developers do developing, testers do testing. So as you start to get into this journey, you start to create this hybrid of developers also doing some level of testing. Okay, and testers having to reach into development and into requirements phases. And that creates a real dynamic of okay, well, who's doing what? Are you here to mark my work and make me look bad? And so I think, when we start to get the reports on all these defects, it creates a tension with a developer. And if there's a tester then standing over their shoulder going, let me have a look at all your defects, all this code looks really bad, organisationally there's a real tension. So we're trying to break that myth of the test centre doing testing. What we've grown up with is a defect detection function. and what we need to shift to is a quality assurance function. If we have visibility all the way through of what do the requirements look like, what does the design look like, what does your code base look like as it comes through build, then the role of the test center at the end moves to a quality assurance. With test automation also being injected into the back end, you just then have time as a test team to look at the look and feel, the screen flow, the cosmetics. It's perfectly possible, and there are probably examples that you can quote and know of, to ship a defect-free system that is still horrible to use. Okay, so tick, you've got no defects in it, but no one actually wants to use it. So the skill of the quality assurance function is then to verify, have conversations with the business saying, is this what you wanted? Is this how it looks and feels? Those softer things that the automation and the Coverity can just help take away all the defect detection. So that's a real challenge. The other elements, as we alluded to, we're creating in the Coverity the dashboard of the defects. We need to understand at what point do we share those with a tool that we also use, like HP Quality Center or ALM. The first time you run Coverity, if it throws up 2,000 defects, do you want to put those into Quality Center? So there's kind of some tool and monitoring and metrics dynamics to say, well, at what point do you say, right, we've fixed all the things we need to fix in the Coverity phase or the build phase. The remaining ones are defects that we then need to track in Quality Center, because otherwise you just end up with this explosion of data and quality issues.
I think one of the key things for us is about taking a testing center on a journey. So Paul's got 100 guys who are used to testing in a waterfall fashion. So we had an event yesterday where we took those 100 guys through, this is the future, these are the things that you need to be trying to work out how you engage with it. Things like test-driven development, things like this type of platform that makes the difference in the way in which you think about quality through the life cycle, agile. So for us, one of the things that we're working really hard at is trying to work out how you reinvent that testing center to become this QA function, what the role of the individuals are, what the role of the test manager is, what a test analyst does in this environment. Because I think it is all significantly changing, and if we don't adjust the test element of the life cycle, once we're making such massive shifts in the development center, we're just leaving costs sitting at the back end of that process on the one hand, and we're leaving time lag on the other. So from our perspective, we started this journey in development. We're continuing it now in testing. We're not finished on this by any stretch. But I think what we've built is a recognition and understanding internally of the importance that this is a joined up story. This isn't a story just about testing or a story just about development. It's a story about partnership and making that work in a new agile environment that we've got to operate in.